Coming out November 21st, 2017 from Wednesday Books, Not Now, Not Ever is the sort of sequel to Lily Anderson's 2016 novel, The Only Thing Worse Than Me Is You. Despite that, don't go into Not Now, Not Ever expecting a direct sequel. While several characters from the first novel are referenced or make major appearances, only one character from the first novel is a main-ish character in this one, which is fine. In Not Now, Not Ever, the story revolves around Elliot Gabaroche, a young black genius who takes a page out of Oscar Wilde's book, literally from The Importance of Being Earnest, in order to achieve her goals and get a shot at living her best academic life at Rayevich College. Along the way, she starts to realize kind of what's really important alongside figuring out who she is with who she really wants to be. Elliot, who rebrands herself as Ever Lawrence for her subterfuge, rejects her parents' decisions for her. Her stepmother thinks that she'd have fun staying at home and helping around the house while she performs in The Importance of Being Earnest for like the 6th time. Her mother wants her to do a stint in the U.S. Air Force's summer training / boot camp to prepare her for a potential future career in the military, which is a family tradition on her maternal side. And then her dad, who has beef with his ex-wife's military career and doesn't want Elliot following in her footsteps, wants her to do a UCLA lawyer camp thing. However, none of the adults in her life ever actually ask her what she wants to do with her summer vacation. So she goes behind all of their backs in order to attend a summer camp, kind of an academic triathlon type setup at Rayevich College. It's called Camp Onward. And I mean, who could blame her? I mean, Rayevich is my dream college, and I'm basically a semester away from a master's degree in literature. So if I had a shot at a school like Rayevich, which is an institution that offers a degree in science fiction and has this massive collection in its fictional halls, I'd be on a midnight train to Oregon too. I would. Ever has this whole thing built up in her head about what Camp Onward will be like and who she'll be at the camp, surrounded by brainiacs from all around the country. But things don't exactly go how she's expecting. What complicates things is her relationship with the other characters in the narrative. So I'm going to talk about 2 of the relationships that she has that are really interesting and important to me. You have first her cousin Isaiah Lawrence, who they don't get along. He's younger than her. He's the baby in the family, and she finds him, kind of gross, the way that you kind of find your younger cousins or siblings gross. And he is kind of annoying, but I put myself into his shoes. And I can get it. I can get why he is the way he is in the book. He has a really interesting approach to the same subterfuge that Ever is going through. And I'll bring it up a little later when I talk about some of the plot points that stood out to me, or plot aspects. But he has this thing about mutually assured destruction when she realizes that they realize that they're at the camp with each other, and he's younger than her. He's not actually allowed to be there. He lied about his age. But he's a good character to have around. I mean, there are a lot of characters who serve as mildly antagonistic forces, but there's nothing more interesting than family beef. Then there's Brandon Calistero. Brandon is the only character from The Only Thing Worse Than Me Is You. He is the only one of the characters from that book to be a main character. And I mean, I'm cool with that. He's precious and perfect, and that's something that I really liked. I mean, the last time we saw him, he was this itty bitty freshman, un poquito, just the tiniest. And now it's weird, and I guess I went into aunt mode for him because, like, baby. But the way that, you see this developing character, he, I mean, I love him. And I think that Ever wasn't expecting him at all. I mean, even less than she was expecting Isaiah Lawrence, to show up and get sucked into the subterfuge. She wasn't expecting someone like Brandon, and she wasn't expecting how meeting somebody like Brandon would not necessarily change her, but like change her focus a bit. And I really like that, and I'll talk more about that too. So I won't go into too much detail in terms of plot points because spoilers are like the bane of my existence. I only tend to spoil spoilery content if it's triggering, and I did not see any content that I found triggering, or that I perceived as potentially triggering to other people. And I mean, people have lots of triggers, so I could have missed something in my read that another reviewer might not miss in theirs. But so there are a couple of plot points or aspects of the plot that I found really interesting. So there's the overall camp plot, because this is like kind of Disney movie-ish. It's a summer camp where they're all geniuses and they're trying to win the overall competition in order to get a spot at Rayovich. And I mean, this is where the mutually assured destruction on Isaiah's part is really interesting, because it's already a cutthroat institution. It doesn't accept a lot of students. It seems like students from the high school in the first book, maybe while they're not guaranteed access, they're kind of like shunted in the general direction of the school. And so it's a hard experience. You're trying to win a scholarship. You're surrounded by people who are geniuses with like over the top IQ levels. And Isaiah, who is arguably, he's the youngest person at this camp, he definitely, from what we see of him, he's finding himself in Camp Onward. And I mean, there were times that I was reading it and I was like, oh my god, because it was frustrating, putting yourself in Ever's shoes. Isaiah's behavior was frustrating, but man, that ending, how she handles Isaiah and the camp, is good. It's good. Then what I really liked is that a lot of the narrative kind of dealt with Ever finding herself. Like she was very much like kind of coming to terms with who she was. And I liked that. I liked that, we saw her grow as this character, and we saw her kind of understand who she is. Like, being 17 is tough. At Ever's age, I was a freshman in college, and I do not recommend that for anyone, honestly. But it was an experience. It's an experience that shaped my life. And I can see that in this text. I can see Ever, like there's this moment really early on where she walks into the sci-fi library and she stumbles across an Octavia Butler book and like, wow. And just her reaction to it and kind of like a this is what I want to do feeling was very reminiscent of like my goals, my time as a teenager in college, just being overwhelmed. Like, I think the first time I walked into the library at the college I went to when I was 17, I was like, what do you mean all of these books are books I can take home? What? Because I mean, they had everything. But there's also Ever kind of, over the course of the book, she kind of decides the face she wants to put forward. I think the biggest moment in the novel is, I mean, there are plenty, because this is a fantastic, really, really vivid novel. But there is a moment right around the ending that I mentioned with like what she does to kind of like what she did, you know, that she with Isaiah, um, that it was just like wow, like she's a lot of the things that I worried about was like how she would deal with her parents if the subterfuge was found out, even if it wasn't, you know, like what part of the problem was that she couldn't trust her parents to believe in her dream. And I think she kind of realized that like she doesn't need her parents to believe in her dream. She doesn't need Rayovich College to, you know, she doesn't need Camp Onward to achieve her dream. She can do it on her own. And I think as she kind of grows up over the course of the novel, which is like really cute because I'm like perpetually in aunt mode when I read most young adult literature because like not very young anymore. But it's just really great, and I also love, and I this is a spoiler, but also like if you can see the cover, and I'll just, you know, if you didn't know that this had a romantic element to it, it does, and I think it develops really naturally and it's really cute. Like again, aunt mode. Uh, like I have my tabs because I was just like I need to talk about this, but then I'm like I can't talk about this in a semi spoiler free review because it's all the spoilers I want to give. Um, but it's such a good relationship, and the end, wow. I think literally the last page. It's like this is teenager love. This is the cutest, and I thought that the relationship, how it developed and how it impacted the camp plot, and you know Ever coming into her own, was pretty darn neat. Alright, so next we're going to talk about things that I love about Not Now, Not Ever, and this is like hella long because I love so much about it. Oscar Wilde lives on in the pages of this novel, and at the end of the first chapter, Ever even says that she's running away in the name of Oscar Wilde. Quotes and references, quotes from and references to The Importance of Being Earnest abound, with Ever essentially embodying the hilarious comedy of the work. I did a course a year ago on Oscar Wilde, and we covered The Importance of Being Earnest, and this would have been a really great book to bring up, but of course it wasn't even like really, you know, a thing yet. But then on page 15, she goes, I'd given up the hope of ever seeing Rayovich for myself until the day the Air Force Academy packet had shown up. I could go see Bunbury. See, in the first act of The Importance of Being Earnest, Algernon tells his family that he has to visit a sick friend named Bunbury whenever he needs to peace out from their bullshit. For some reason, that really spoke to me. And believe me, it speaks to me too. I love it. But that's not the only Wilde reference. I mean, of course, the entire narrative is, I mean, Oscar Wilde would probably love this book. You know, he'd be charmed because it is charming. But then in chapter 8, when Ever and Brandon are talking, she tells herself that boys were the gateway to a full-on Importance of Being Earnesty farce. First, it was one cute boy making eyes at you over breakfast, and then it was all Wildean misunderstandings and double entendres. Ah, cute. And then, near the end of the novel, actually it's the last line of chapter 35, she straight up describes the whole situation that she and Isaiah have found themselves in as a full-on Wildean farce. And then where is it? So there's a quote from The Importance of Earnest, kind of like a modified version, in as the last line of the book. After all, wasn't it Oscar Wilde who said that the very essence of romance is uncertainty? And I was like, because, yeah. Also, Not Now, Not Ever was incredibly relatable. Like, yes, I'm in my late 20s, but back in my day, I would have been right in her shoes. My family's big on military service, and several members of my family had plans for where I'd be going, or how I could be useful to my cousin, especially because like I I kind of aced the ASVAB or whatever my senior year of high school. Like they were like, you should join the military, and I was like, no, I won't. No, I should not. And at first glance, my current academic interests line up really neatly with Evers. Like, I do nerd media for academic purposes. Like, my main focus is representation, accessibility, and stuff. But, like, nerd media. My thesis is on the Joker. I've spoken about racism in fan spaces. Like, yeah, like, I kind of feel like a grown up ever in some ways. And what helps, like, what really got me when I first saw this book, and when I look at it, is that Ever kind of looks like me. I mean, or the cover model does. I mean, I was sitting in the hallway of the English department, my office, and like every time someone would walk by me, I'd be like, look at this, because I mean, she has like the eyebrows. I mean, my eyebrows are like definitely approaching gigantic, but the eyebrows, the skin color. I mean, she has we have the same hair texture when I don't have these braids in, and I mean, that is a really amazing experience because not only have I found this like nerdy character who in many ways thinks along the same lines that I do, has the same academic interests. She's a black girl that looks like me, and I'm 27. I mean, I can't imagine reading this book at 14. I can't imagine reading it at 20, but I think I would have needed it. I think Not Now, Not Ever is a book that probably would have like smoothed out some of the rough patches for me at 14 as a college freshman at 17. I mean, last year. Gosh. Also, okay, so I've already kind of talked about the Brandon and Ever relationship, but let's talk about that some more because it's really cute and really well fleshed out. I mean, I love both of the characters, and I like them separately, but then I also like them as a ship, but kind of like in a, again, aunt mode, like, oh, I want my babies to be happy kind of way. And I love that experience of, wow, I'm so happy for these characters. I hope, a lot of really good stuff happens to them. I love this book. Now, if I must say, like, there wasn't much about it that I just didn't like. There were things that I was like, eh. Like, there was like a moment of casual ableism. I marked it down because it was like diagnosing or assuming someone had a mental health issue. And I was like, please don't. But it was the only thing that was like a real, like, to me was that I personally had trouble keeping track of minor characters in the novel because there's a wide cast of secondary minor characters, and like I'd have to go like, oh, who did this, to make sure that I was on track with the characters. And I mean, that could totally be a me problem as opposed to this book problem, So like, don't let that bother you or stop you from reading it. It's not something I would take points off for, But Ever is like so strong a character, and Brandon so adorable a love interest in character, that I can basically just gloss over the fact that I had trouble remembering or like getting into these characters. And again, possibly a me problem. I'm very single-minded in my focus at times, which is okay. So if you didn't get it from the review alone, Not Now, Not Ever is straight up one of my favorite releases for 2017. It's a book that I really do think I could have used when I was Ever's age, and it kind of made my day a decade later because I'm 27, because it was just an easy, sweet read. Like, it was like reading a Disney movie almost, but like actually consistently diverse. you know, and like I kept squishing my face. I was like, ah, and I squish my face when I get happy. And major thanks to Twitter user the Shenners. They provided me with a copy from BEA, Book Expo America. And I mean, thanks to the folks at Wednesday Books for making a copy of the novel accessible at BEA for them to get me the book in the first place. And of course, Lily Anderson, you've written a fantastic book. It's cute, and I'm going, like, now that I'm finished reading and reviewing it, I'm gonna pass it along, actually. So for those of you that like giveaways, I am giving away a Kindle copy of Not Now, Not Ever to show my love for this novel. So I got an Amazon card for letting Google spy on my phone. I'm passing that on to you guys. So the link to the giveaway will be underneath this video if you're watching it on YouTube and probably Tumblr. If you're on Twitter, it will be attached. I don't know how you'd watch this on Twitter, but if you are linked to the giveaway on Twitter, well, obviously there's a link there. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that Not Now, Not Ever makes your day as much as it made mine. Thank you!